Hello and welcome back to another video here of the Hidden Quantum Champions. Today we are looking into a company called MQS, which is active in the space of pharmaceutical science and quantum chemistry. So if you are working, for example, in pharma or in new materials discovery, or if you are leading a team and you're interested in understanding how to use quantum technologies in those domains, then I think today's video is exactly right for you, as we are diving deeper into MQS and what they're actually doing, what their product is, and what they deliver. And with that, let's start right into the video. So here we are on their website. It says MQS up here, acceleration through quantum AI, so precision and speed with modular quantum chemistry and machine learning pipelines for biopharmaceuticals, materials, and chemistry R&D. Calculate, find, and develop breakthrough compounds in hours, not months. And I mean, that's already very much the core of the offering here, the core or the USP, right? So it is giving access to these different disciplines here, right? Biopharmaceuticals, materials, and chemistry R&D. It is about creating a modular system that involves, on the one side, quantum, and on the other side also AI, to basically accelerate the R&D, the development speed, and to make things more accurate and faster. So here you can see 200 million plus molecules indexed. So they have a database which comes along with their platform, and then 10 times faster R&D cycles, DFT, so density functional theorem, and CCSD T-level accuracy. So that basically goes to say very accurate. Now, from my understanding, what they are delivering is very much similar for, let's say, the world of quantum AI in terms of chemistry and material development to what Databricks is delivering to data scientists. And for that, let's quickly go back one step and talk about Databricks, even though it's not topic of this video. Databricks is a huge company by now. They have an extremely high value. To my knowledge, no IPO yet, but they are basically a data science powerhouse. They built a platform that kind of docks on top of your existing hyperscale provider like Amazon, like Microsoft, like Google. So they built on top of the cloud platform a AI and machine learning data science platform that makes it easier for data scientists to actually get access to all of the cool stuff that you need without having to build all the infra themselves. So what do I mean by that? It starts with how to collect and store data, how to refine this data, to then train models, to make sure that when you are training models, you can also, let's say, document the process, document which data was being used to train which kind of model, and all of that stuff. So they basically enable you to go much faster from, let's say, accumulated data that is in a way structured or unstructured, all the way to cutting edge data science applications like using agents to do agentic analysis of your data and all of the stuff that comes along with it. So they're building basically the data science stack based on open source, based on extremely efficient technology, and so on and so forth. Databricks is huge by now. They have subsidiaries all over the globe, and they're basically the company who's making companies access data science. Now back to MQS. I see a certain similarity here because they are also building all the infra, right? They even deliver you some data already, like this 200 million plus indexed data set that comes along with their platform. It sits on top of your existing cloud infra. In this case, I think it's AWS. We will see a little bit more about that later. And then they basically enable you to do the whole stack from, okay, I have a specific molecule here, all the way up to finding the molecule with the specific properties that is being required for a specific task. Now, here on the website, you can see there's a couple of partners listed, like DLR, Deutsches Luft- und Raumfahrtzentrum. It's a institution within Germany, IQM, which we know for the quantum computers, NVIDIA with their Inception program, AWS, and so on and so forth. So a couple of big labels down here. But let's not go through all of this. Let's also not use this cool question and answer guide up here, but let's quickly hop into the blog. So I'm recording this video in June of 2026. And here we see instructions and software, May of 2026. Our entire digital molecular R&D lab and in silico simulation environment deployed in minutes. And let's quickly take a look into this, because I think that very much explains what this whole, let's say, technology stack is about. And here we see the different components. So Sebule, I hope I pronounced that correctly, is the platform technology. So it also says here, unlike conventional chemistry software distributed as standalone packages, Sebule is delivered as a cloud formation template, CFT, that provisions an entire molecular simulation and lab integration environment. And then here you see the stuff that comes with it. So basically, this is the whole, let's say, infra stack that can sit on top of your cloud, and it comes with an end-to-end. So from the database all the way to, let's say, the final output that you need, and all the different steps, simulation steps in between. Now, what are these steps? Let's take a step back and make it a bit more concrete in terms of an example. Let's say you have a specific drug that is not very well solvable, and you now want to deliver, and maybe also a bit unstable, and you want to deliver this in some medication, in some pharmaceutical product, into the bloodstream of a patient. Now, okay, well, let's look through all of the different components that are solvable in blood, that are solvable in water. So you start with this 200 million database that they have. Now you're basically going through all of this and you're figuring out, okay, what is relevant here? And maybe you find 100,000 elements, 100,000 molecules that fulfill this task. Now, which one is the interesting one for your specific application? Well, there are other properties that you also need to fulfill, because you are delivering this into a human being, into the bloodstream. You might want to make sure that you're not using anything toxic. So you have a couple more, let's say, relevant criteria that you want to go through. And now what they can do here is they can use an AI-based system to basically go through all of those and sift through all of those based on a couple of properties. So in fact, what you can be doing is you could map them, for example, into a vector space, and then you could search for similarities, search for closest elements, stuff like that. So you're basically going with AI through this whole data space, and you're sifting through, and maybe you end up with 100 elements. So you're going down from 100,000 to 100 that are fulfilling the properties of, okay, you can actually use them in terms of, let's say, getting them into a patient's bloodstream. Now, you will have a couple of other chemically relevant properties. And here, you, for example, have your specific medication molecule, right? And you need to make sure that it doesn't create any reaction with the kind of solving compound that you're trying to add here. So now it becomes on a chemical level a bit more complex. And there you can use, like traditionally what you would have to do is now you would have to go through all of these 100 elements, you would have to simulate their chemical properties, use a lot of compute power to actually simulate them very accurately. But what they have included here now is basically this AI approach, where you're basically using a machine learning algorithm that has been trained to predict, given a molecule, a specific property. So now you're taking kind of the short path. The machine learning algorithm is very good at estimating. So you show it something and it kind of understands, or it can very well interpolate based on something that you give it, some molecular structure, for example. It can very well interpolate what is the chemical property of this specific compound. It doesn't, let's say, do any calculation, right? It doesn't run through the quantum mechanics. It's just like an experience thing, right? Like when you are, for example, I don't know, looking at two different jars in your kitchen, you can say that, okay, in that one it's probably oil, because if you're shaking it, the viscosity looks a little bit less than maybe for water, so it has a higher viscosity. And maybe based on, let's say, the color that you are looking at, the color that you see, it looks a little bit different from honey. So you are using, let's say, your experiences to guess what is in the bottle, but you're not actually measuring it. And that's similar to what the machine learning algorithm does. So you show it many different compounds, and it can then basically guess what could be an interesting material here. You can also train a machine to come up with new molecules, and this is this generative adversarial network approach here that we see here with GANs, to come up with new molecules that could fulfill a specific property. Now, once you have thinned down, let's say, the number of candidates that are interesting, maybe you end up with 10 of those, right? And now for these 10, you can now do the precise calculation, because at the end we are working here on something that is very, let's say, important to be precise, right? When it comes to medical, to pharmaceutical applications, we want to make sure we are precise. So now you're running the precise calculation. This can include this DFT that we see here, Cosmo, and all the other, let's say, calculation approaches here. Some of them might deal with the very, let's say, basic fundamental properties of a molecule, like the electronic band structure and stuff like that. But it could also be about the interaction, about the like how it interacts, for example, in water, and other properties like electronegativity and stuff like that, right? So for these, there are different packages here that can do different types of simulations very well. Now, in a couple of very specific cases, you might still be off, because technically what these calculations are doing is they are still, let's say, simplifying the problem. So whenever you do some simulation, usually you are not doing an actual simulation of the quantum mechanics property, but you are simplifying the problem. Like, for example, you are saying, okay, the nucleus of my atom is much heavier than the electron that is evolving around it. So basically, we can consider the nucleus to be at a fixed position while the electron is just running around it. But if you're, for example, looking at the planetary system, the solar system, for example, I'm very much simplifying now, you can also assume that the sun is in a fixed position and all the planets are just evolving or rotating around it. But actually, the whole solar system is moving around its center of mass, its combined center of mass. So even though the sun is much heavier than everything else, it's still moving on a specific trajectory. It's not completely true to say that everything is just spinning around the sun. And similar to that, usually when trying to calculate something in quantum physics, physicists have to make certain assumptions about how things can be simplified, like, for example, making crystals infinitely large and connecting the ends to each other so that they are, let's say, a closed loop, but actually a crystal has some finite ends to it, and all those kind of things. They make it easier for us to do the calculation, and that's why we are doing them. But in some cases, they might break. And here is where the quantum computers become interesting and where the quantum part comes in, that we can see here, right? So now we are going into this quantum simulated, for example, quantum simulated annealing, or other quantum techniques like variational quantum eigensolvers, stuff like that, where you're using quantum computers to actually simulate the quantum properties of a specific system. Here we are making use specifically of the Hilbert space, which is very large for quantum computers. So you can basically store quantum information in a space that is much bigger than what we currently have with supercomputers in terms of storage. And that helps you to then run more precise calculations. And at the end, you will get your target probability values. This is this fourth part here of the pipeline. I'm, of course, very much simplifying. If you want to understand more of the details, lucky you, there's this great blog article here, so you can go through all of the different stages, and it explains you in great detail what the SDK is about, what the different components are doing. And of course, you can also use your language model of choice to kind of go into details of the specific ones and learn more about what these are actually doing, what they mean, and also read some primary information or primary literature on these. Here's just to show how it sits on top of your existing infrastructure, right? You have your object storages like S3 buckets, an IT stack, cloud provider like AWS, and then your laboratory. On top sits the platform, and it connects to these different infrastructure and resources here. Here's even more information on that. And down here, you can then also see some examples of what it would look like. Again, if you are interested in the details, I encourage you to read this because it goes through a lot of the technical information. So this is, I would say, the main product. It is this platform technology, everything you need for molecular screening, discovery, and development. Now, besides that, I mean, there comes a dashboard, comes the SDK and HPC part, and the agent, so the agentic AI. But besides that, there's also more stuff available. And there are different target audiences. So you see here, for example, developer and experimentalists. And then here you see the different, let's say, access groups, the different tiers that they are having in terms of getting access to the platform. The company is based in Copenhagen in Denmark. Not the first one in the quantum sector that we are seeing there. And if you haven't seen the other ones, then go check out the Hidden Quantum Champions playlist, where you can find many, many more companies from around the world working on different things in quantum. And also, if the whole sector of quantum is interesting you and you want to learn or you want to invest maybe into some of those companies, or you want to spread your or learn more, widen your knowledge about the quantum sector, then check out the link down in the video description. You will find more information about that as well. Now back to MQS. So now I've talked a lot about the platform, right? But there's also other stuff available here, and I want to briefly touch on this as well. One thing is this partnering tab here. So they do have ways, or they do give you ways to actually partner with them. Now, what kind of partners do they have? Why partner with us? So what do they offer on the one side? Molecular pipelines, domain expertise, broad applications, and accelerated R&D. Flexible collaboration options. We offer multiple engagement models tailored to your organization's needs, from technology licensing to fully embedded joint R&D programs. So basically from, okay, you just take the platform and you go, all the way up to, okay, you get basically like an outsourced external R&D team, which you can pull into your organization for a specific project, for example, and then you get, let's say, the full access to the full experience of the MQS team. So joint R&D programs, technology licensing, academic collaboration if you're a university, right? And then consulting and services as well. And that is available across industries. So you see they're serving various different industries. We have talked, or I have talked now on this example about pharmaceutical. You see peptides, for example, also very interesting and a field that has a lot of traction nowadays. If you haven't heard anything about peptides, I encourage you to also go check this one out. There's a lot of movement right now because people see a lot of opportunities in there. Formulation design, small drug molecules, manufacturing and process design, because also ultimately you need to manufacture these drugs, for example, right? Then there's quantum chemistry, AI, ML, quantum computing pipelines, ionic liquids, automated lab, and then biopolymers and catalysts. What I also found interesting, and sadly, this is almost like already towards the end of the video, but I maybe should have brought that up a bit earlier, is this part here, because of course, as the School of Quantum, we are very much an education initiative, and what they are offering here is actually also a very, I guess, high quality piece of education. So you can see here, quantum computing course, an immersive educational course designed for engineers, researchers, and PhD students interested in learning how to program quantum computers, from fundamentals to advanced applications in quantum chemistry and machine learning. And of course, I'd be very interested to also see that. Maybe I should get started after the video. But now I actually have to produce another one for you guys. But definitely that could be something interesting And yeah, who knows, maybe there's at some point a way to also collaborate on an initiative. Then you see, as per usual, there's some social credit here and some insight into what the course actually looks like. You see the different chapters: basic theory and overview, quantum chemistry, variational quantum algorithms, quantum machine learning and tensor networks, fault-tolerant quantum computing, and so on and so forth. Down here, even more information, and then also an opportunity to sign up here as well. Now, as per usual, I also want to quickly talk a little bit about the company. And here we are coming to the team that is behind MQS. So our team, the MQS team members, are highly interdisciplinary, working at the intersection of quantum chemistry, quantum computing, chemical engineering, computer science, digital transformation, and laboratory automation. And you see here the CEO and co-founder, Mark Nicholas Jones, as well as the whole team. So also Kurt Stockbro, I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly, co-founder and investor, chairman of the board. But of course, besides, let's say, the founders, you also see that there's like a very multidisciplinary team. You have lead of quantum technology, scientific developers, expert advisors, UX, UI design. If you're building a platform, you also need to make sure the user experience as well, so people know how to actually interact with it. Front-end developer, right? So you're having the whole also IT stack, as well as scientific advisory included as well. And actually quite a big team that is working on this great piece of software. With that, I actually want to come to an end already of today's video. So that was about MQS, a platform that is helping scientists, quantum or chemistry scientists, pharmaceutical scientists, to actually make use of AI and quantum in their day-to-day research experience. They are delivering the whole infrastructure stack that can sit on top of, for example, your AWS, and that can enable you to do from the beginning to the very end the whole research stack. Besides the pure software, they're also delivering this consultancy services, the R&D support, as well as educational materials to actually learn about quantum computing. And that's MQS in a couple of words. I hope you liked today's video. If so, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you want me to review another specific company that you are interested in, let me know down in the comments below. Stay hydrated as always. I'm looking forward to see you in the next one. Until then, bye-bye.